All right, guys, we're back here again. You got Jax right up front here and Zoe. They are shop dogs. They go everywhere with me. They're my best friends. They are here, and they're going to be with us as we install the roof and the roof rack for this General 4. So we'll catch you here. All right, guys, before we go ahead and install our roof rack, we're going to need to put on our aluminum roof. We need to take off the stock factory plastic roof. The roof rack will not work with the factory plastic. It'll just shake and rattle itself to death, and you will end up losing what's up there. And that is not something, when you pay this kind of money, you want to go through. So the removal of this plastic roof from Polaris, there's 2 screws back here in the center. You're going to pull the bracket, and then you will need to remove your factory speakers if you have them. That's just 4 to 6 bolts either side, and it goes pretty quick. A big tip I can tell you is be sure to unplug your speakers before you unplug them from the back brackets, because if you don't and that falls, it could rip and tear your cord or your cables, and that could be an issue.
Make sure to catch that bracket.
Okay, so if you have the factory Polaris speakers here, you can see the cables are attached to the plastic roof all the way around. You'll need to go and just pull those off the plastic roof and just pop them off the plastic before you pull the plastic roof, or else you will end up again tearing the cables. All right, now that you've got the cable down from all the plastic here, there's 2 screws on the front of the plastic roof here. We're gonna pop out up top. And once you take those 2 screws out, 1 in each side, they're the longer, like 2-inch screws, you then can take the roof and slide it forward. There's a couple things you can do with this plastic roof. Sometimes you can poke it or post it on Facebook, your local classifieds, to get rid of it. One of our favorite things to do is get one of your best friends, give them a case of beer, you tow it behind your razor at the sand dunes with a ski rope. Okay guys, as we have the front, the middle, and the rear pieces here, you're gonna turn over the middle and the front pieces and foam very specific spots. This will help mitigate the rattles again. So as we flip these over, I'm gonna show you right where we're gonna foam. As the roof goes from front to back, it goes from narrow to wide. And I get a lot of questions on which way this goes, but it's pretty obvious as the holes only line up one way. The middle panel rides on top because it's pretty level, and we want all the water and everything to shed off of there. So you're gonna take the foam and you're gonna foam right here, right on the edge. If you foam the top of the front and rear panels, there's a chance that the foam will show, and the aesthetics, it's just not gonna look very good. So if you foam on the bottom side of your middle panel on this lip and this lip and put the foam right to the edge of the roof, That will help significantly. It'll hide the foam, it'll seal everything up, and it'll help quit rattling. The other thing, we need to go from about this corner where this miter bend is. You're gonna wanna take it all the way along the front. Not everybody has a big foam workbench like this. Your front living room works great. So you just put it on the carpet, flip it over, let your kids come out and help you foam the roof. As you're foaming this, the edge of this roof here, what we're going to do is you're just going to want to run your finger right along the edge. You're going to want to peel back the foam. This is the easiest way to do it. I've foamed 182 of these. If you peel it all the way back and run it along here, that's the easiest way to go ahead and follow the edge of the roof. So I know I mentioned this before, I'm just gonna reiterate a little bit. This foam will stretch once you pull the backing off. So when I do these straight pieces here, I will take this and pull this and rip this off a couple inches short. So then you're not working with the whole roll. All right guys, now that you have the foam applied in the proper places, you are gonna take a couple of these brackets. It's gonna go on the inside and fit on the ProFit cage here. They're gonna hook right here on your cage, and as you tighten everything down, it will cinch everything into place. We are going to start with the front piece of the roof. So while it is easier to do this with a friend or have some help to catch the roof on the other side, it is entirely doable to do this by yourself. If you have the roof rack, your roof rack mount, it is going to be the small mount with these set holes, and then the slotted mount go against the roof. Those will go on with your roof clamps on the front. If you do not have a roof rack, you do not need to worry about those. Either way, what you're going to do is you're going to attach these clamps loosely right now, because there's going to be a little bit of adjustment once everything is attached as we set everything into place. As you're setting this up here, the best way to align the roof to where it needs to be is follow the front of the aluminum roof to your plastic fairing from your Polaris part that matches to the windshield here. right, so as for now, once you got the screws ran in, you're just gonna wanna leave everything loose for now until we get the whole roof assembled and then we get the roof rack in place. Again, if you don't have the roof rack, it's the exact same process, less the last 5 minutes of the video, because we're gonna tighten down the roof before we really tighten down the roof rack or anything anyway. Now that we've got the front piece on, we're gonna grab this middle section here. Remember that it tapers from the front to the back. The mount holes need to go towards the front. So all we're doing here, remember, the middle panel goes on top to shed all water. All I'm doing right now is we're just gonna put in loosely the 5 bolts that go along the top. Now that we have the middle piece on top of the front piece here, what we're going to do on the bench or on your living room floor, you're going to install these speaker mount brackets. Again, if you do not have the speaker mounts or the speakers, you do not need to use the speaker mounts. You can just put bolts in it to plug the holes. But put them in loosely. The inside mounts, the outside mounts are interchangeable. They can go from either side. The inside mounts, they need to be curved in and pointed back towards the back lip of the back piece of the roof. You're going to want to leave everything loose because we are going to need to install the back panel on the General, tighten the roof down completely. The speakers are going to be one of the last things that we install and tighten up. You will use one of the factory Polaris screws on the inside mount. Everything else we will supply the hardware necessary to mount these speakers. Again, this step is easier with a friend. It is doable by yourself though. Alright guys, so as we're mounting the back panel and as I go to start tightening everything down, this middle roof clamp, these do not share holes, okay? This is the roof clamp, this is the roof rack mount. This middle roof rack mount is not necessary unless you have a rooftop tent or something super heavy up here. If you're hauling a deer, you're hauling an elk up here, you really are gonna use your roof rack for more than just lighting. Then I recommend this third mount in the middle. That goes to the circular holes here, not the slotted holes. The roof clamp goes to the slotted holes right here. This is not necessary unless you're really loading down your rack. We rate our roof racks at a 250 pounds in a dynamic load as you're traveling. Static load up to 500 pounds. So you can put this here, you can put here. In the back, this is the longer mount. There are 3 holes in this back panel. They will share and overlap holes. So the roof rack mount goes further backwards, the roof clamp goes further forward. And you'll be able to see that because it doesn't fit right here around the weld. So they share 1 bolt, just so you guys know back here. Now that we have the back panel on with the speaker mounts and the roof rack mounts, everything is still loose. We just need to line everything up and go ahead and tighten it. Aside from the speaker mounts and the roof rack mounts, if you don't have the roof rack or the speaker mounts, this is your final step here. What we're going to do is we're going to push the back panel up against the roll cage as tight as we can before we tighten that back panel, or the back bolts between the middle panel and the rear panel. We're gonna go ahead and tighten in these 5 nuts and bolts all the way through. These are a T30 Torx bit with a 7/16 nut. We're gonna go ahead and tighten this row. Then what we're going to do is we're going to line up the front of the roof with the plastic fairing from Polaris. Then we're going to come tighten this row of bolts. There's 5 bolts in each row. Once you tighten the whole panel together, you would then go tighten the clamps, 1, 2, and 3 on each side. Then you are done installing the roof. If you have the roof rack, you want to do this row, and then you're going to want to install the roof rack and make sure the roof rack is tightened to its clamps up here, or its mounts, excuse me, before you tighten the clamps, because you're going to need some adjustment up there. Now that the roof is on, we're going to tighten this row, and if you have the speaker mounts, you can go ahead and tighten up your speaker mounts after you do this row. You need to access these nuts down here before the speakers go in. So we're going to go ahead and tighten this row, tighten this up, tighten this row, and then we'll be back here. All right, guys, we have the back row and the front row tightened up. We do not have the roof clamps. We're going to install the speakers now, okay? As you guys install the roof, you can go ahead, there's plenty of room inside the clamps to stick the speaker wires as they go through. Make sure that as you tighten them down, you do not pinch your speaker wires. Again, you're going to have another electrical issue. As these go in, the flat goes against the back, and you're going to, I have some 2-inch screws that I supply you with to install these two. This outer bracket that is interchangeable from side to side. And then the factory, you're gonna need that, it's a T40 Torx bit. The T30 will work to put it in because that's what you need to assemble everything else on the roof and roof rack. So we're just gonna go ahead and assemble those real quick. Now that you've got the speaker up here loosely, you're going to want to come onto the top of the roof and tighten the 4 bolts to tighten the clamps up to the roof itself. Then you're going to want to come in here and tighten these, have a little bit more play on the speaker itself. Alright, so now that we've got the speaker mounts and everything tied down here, we went ahead and pre-assembled the roof rack. Everything is loose right now, nothing is tight. I don't want to put anything up there tight until everything is in place. As we assemble the roof rack, there are 7 cross members. On the back panel that are all the same level, the same platform, there are 4 the same that have these little 5/16 holes drilled out on either side of the tie-down points. Those are the 4 cross members that go on this back panel. They are a touch shorter, so this section can fit within this section right here. So we're gonna go ahead and toss the back up first. Again, a lot easier with a friend, but it is doable by yourself. All right, we've got the back half of the roof rack on right now. Remember, everything is still loose as we assemble all this. I'm gonna throw the front half up there. And what we're going to do, these cutouts are going to go on the outside. So this front half is gonna go on the outside of this rear half. The two slats go on the outside of this as far as the design goes. So I'm gonna go ahead and toss that up there and get everything bolted down. Okay, now that we've got everything assembled, we got all the nuts and bolts in here, everything is still loose. There's a little bit of play in this. Every cage is bent a little bit different, and what you need to do is you just need to be able to line this up. You have a little bit of play in here. Go ahead and tighten your bolts where your roof rack is off your roof at that point. And as you tighten everything up, you want to start with these 4 center bolts to get everything tight right here. Let's get these tight. You'll then want to go to your mount bolts. After your center 4 are tight, let's go to your mount bolts and then work into your cross members. Once your center bolts, your mount bolts on both sides are tight, go ahead and work into your cross members. Tighten all your cross members, then tighten your front and your rear bolts. Once everything is tight on your roof rack, go ahead and center it up. You're gonna go left to right. Now somebody with some good eyeballs, don't get anybody with glasses like my film guy.